Hello people, so back again for another update. Apologies, it's been a while. Been so busy with work and doing stuff, bits and bobs with the house, and the kids have been off school. So I've been really busy with stuff. So here we go with another update. I'll do this update in probably 2 or 3 parts or so. I'm just waiting for the tank to clear because I've done loads of maintenance, sort of hoovering through the sand and blowing through the rocks, etc. So it's a bit messy in there at the moment. So I'm going to go through a proper update with the coral growth and how we're getting on with the system in a minute. Just wanted to do this first part on some of the bits and bobs that I'm using on the tank. Lots of people asking what salt you use. You've got questions all the time. What salt you're using? What you're using for dosing solutions? Are you feeding the corals? What you're using for GFO, etc., etc. What you're using for test kits and blah 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 and feeding and stuff. So I've just got everything out that basically that I use on a regular basis for maintenance and products I'm using constantly to keep the system healthy and stable and going well. So I'll start off with the most important thing is what salt I'm using, and obviously as you can see there's a lot of Red Sea products here. I do like their stuff. Obviously it's a Red Sea REEFER, so I thought I'd follow suit. All their products seem to be of good quality and I've got good track record, so I've just sort of gone down the road of using Red Sea everything really, and had good success. So you know, if you use a product and you get on well with it and you know stuff goes well, then why not use it again? So just find what, it doesn't mean you have to use all Red Sea stuff. If you find a different make that suits or you know does better, then go with that. So the salt I'm using, Red Sea's Coral Pro salt. It's probably one of the most expensive salts in the market, but in my eyes really well worth it. It mixes really quickly. Within about 3 or 4 hours you can do the water change. So it dissolves up really nice in the water. Basically it's got the elevated, as you know with Red Sea Coral Pro, most of you will know it's got the elevated levels of the foundation elements in it already. So you know if you're running at 35 parts per thousand on your reefs, then it's going to have a calcium level around the 450, 460 mark. Magnesium will be nice and high as well, sort of like 1350, maybe I think it's 1400 maybe. And alkalinity will be really high, at sort of alkaline about 12. So yeah, that's the salt I'm using. I do 10% water change every week. Having said that, I haven't this week, which I'll go into more detail why when I do the system update on the tank. So that's the salt. Obviously using a refractometer to check the salinity. That's the one I'm using. Calibrate it. There's been this issue of people saying about the calibration not being accurate if you're using RO water. It does actually say in the instructions to calibrate 0 off with RO water. Doesn't say use a calibration fluid. I know there is calibration fluids and people are saying that there's completely out using RO. I don't know. I've always used RO. I must at some point order some calibration fluid just to test it, but I did borrow a refractometer, a floating needle type, what are they called now? To check it, and it wasn't hardly out. They're virtually the same. So yeah, so that's that. Glass, I clean the glass with this Mirage stuff from the acrylic tank manufacturer, you know, the people on the TV on the show. But yeah, that seems to be quite good. It gives it a nice sort of shine. Polishes the surface. Got to be careful you do order this. Make sure you don't put too much on because it can smear around. So just like a light spray and just buff it with a microfiber towel. Obviously I'm testing my RO water coming out, my RO station under the sink, to making sure my TDS is at 0 at all times. With a TDS meter, it's by D&D. That's that. There's some calibration fluid as well for that in my cupboard. To stick my coral frags to plugs and to my live rock and stuff, I just use D&D's Aquascape Epoxy Construction Putty. Seems to be good. It's a nice colour actually. It's like a pinky purple, sort of coralline-y colour. Sometimes it comes out a little bit too pink, depends how you mix it. But yeah, it's nice and strong, sticky. Always got on well with that, so that's what I'm using for that. Right, the main dosing solutions that I'm using, obviously Red Sea's Reef Foundation solutions. Because I'm dosing so much, I'm using the powder form to mix up into these smaller bottles and then obviously put into the dosing containers. So yes, you get calcium, alkalinity, and your magnesium, A, B and C. Just read the instructions on the powders. I get a lot of questions on how do you mix it and stuff. I mean, I told myself that if you read the instructions properly, you'll be able to get on with it fine. So you just mix it up into big batches. Or just start with small batches, and then obviously as you get more confident with mixing it, it's correct, amounts. Then you can mix up bigger batches. So that's what my main source for calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium comes from them by Red Sea. The other thing, it's a really new thing that I've just started to do. About a week now it's been running, using Red Sea's coral colours, which is all the elements that we don't replenish. When we're dosing down these, obviously there's loads of other elements that are being used down as well, which you don't test for. They're responsible for mainly colour and growth and stuff like that. So I thought I'd just give it a go. It's called their coral coloration program, A, B, C and D. I'm just dosing 2 ml of each a day, because I think you have to dose it in accordance to how much calcium you're using down. My system's using about 17 ml a day of calcium. So that's what I'm doing with that. I'll update you with some results. I don't know whether it is because of this, but the colours are really looking good. Again, I'll go into that on the main update. The other thing I've started using as well is this Reef Energy A and B, which is basically coral food. It gives the amino acids and vitamins needed for coral growth and colour. People will argue you don't need to put that in, but anything that can aid and stimulate that system's water chemistry, the same as in the sea, where on these reefs where these corals and bits and bobs come from in the tank that you're trying to grow and thrive and look good, then obviously all the better. Red Sea's Aptasia X. If you ever got this Aptasia coming out your live rock, now all mine's gone down the tank thanks to this product. Brilliant. Some people say it doesn't work. I don't know why. I've had loads of Aptasia in my live rock that I've put in there initially. Just kept pumping this stuff into the head, get the needle that they supply with it right into the head, pump it in so it ingests it. And if they do come back, sometimes one hit, you have to give another hit. A couple of days later, dead. But most of the time, it's the first time you hit them with this stuff, bang, they're dead. They just shrivel up and die. Good stuff. Reefroids by Polyp Lab. Been using that about 3 weeks or so now. Again, whether it's needed, I don't know. My corals do seem to like it. So I've been just once a week, just pumping that in with the turkey baster. What am I using for phosphate removal is Roaphos in a reactor. Probably about the best GFO you can get, I think. It's just, whenever I've used this in a reactor, I've always got 0 readings of phosphate, which I might add, I have changed recently. I do want a tiny reading of phosphate, sort of 0.03 I'm trying to get to, so I've turned my reactor off, so I'm not running this at the moment. So I've run it from day dot for about 9 months now, and always had 0 phosphate. I think that might be a little bit of the reason why corals weren't faring as good. The other thing I'm using is Roa Carbon, probably again the best carbon in the market, Crystal Premium Carbon, doesn't leach out any phosphates, etc. I just use a little netted bag of it on the overflow and the return in the reefer. It just seems to polish the water up a bit. Having said that, I haven't replaced that now for about 3 or 4 weeks, so I must do that. Foods. Sorry, before we go into foods, basically testing all my parameters with sulfur test kits, alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, nitrate and phosphate, which I think is the main 5 we should be testing for all the time. And yeah, I've always got on well with them. They seem to be very accurate. Yeah, apart from the phosphate, I'm not entirely convinced that this is showing 0 every single time. You know, it's one of those things that you read online and forums and stuff, people saying that Hannah checkers are more accurate than that, which they probably are, but on this little scale you get here these, but mine's, the water in the vial is always completely clear on mine, 0. But whether it is or not, maybe on a Hannah check it might be a little bit higher. But what I'm going to try and do is get my system using this kit to 0.03, a slight tinge of blue. So and once it hits that tiny bit of row of phos in the reactor, maybe 100 mil, 150 mil, get that running. And once, and that should bring it down a little bit, maybe to 0.01, 2, which is where you want to run it. But anyway, I might get a Hannah checker. At the moment, this is the way I'm doing it. All the rest of them, nitrate, magnesium, calcium, you know, they seem to be all really good. So, and I'm used to using them. So that's the test kits. Foods, I'm using New Era. Well, their new name is Vitalis Nutrition, and the main ones are the marine flakes and these ones. And what you have to do is 4 weeks on this, 2 weeks on this, 4 weeks, and just rotate like that. So that's what I'm using on the flake, as well as the algae flakes as well for that Munich tang I've got, and their algae blending seems to really like stuff. So I say every day that goes in. I've just got the CVG student spread. I don't seem to be too keen on that, to be honest, at the moment, but it might take a while to get used to it. So that's that. This stuff by JBL, Plankton Pure, I got that to feed corals actually. Well, not all the corals, mainly my candy cane, LPS. It's like a liquid form of plankton. Fish seem to like it as well. Don't put that in much, just sort of try it out. Various other little foods here by Sea Chem. Don't really use that, it's just as a backup really. Pellets, the fish and they just don't like pellets when I put them in. They have a nibble about with them and that. My clean shrimp seems to like them, but I don't really bother with pellets. And I mix them up in this. I just do a nice sort of stew of it every day, fill this up with RO and put in the flake. I'm also using frozen, I use brine shrimp and Cyclops every other day or so. I just mix it up. At the moment I'm feeding really heavy to try and get nitrates and phosphates up a tiny bit. But that I'll go into, like I said before. So that's all the bits and bobs that I'm using. Hopefully that clears up any questions you've got of what I put in the tank on a regular basis. I'm going to wrap this up for part 1 and I'll see you in part 2. Cheers folks.